I'll get the vegetables cut here. This one has a little bit of carrot in it, and I think what Pritikin's doing is just kind of bulking it up, trying to get a little bit more vegetables into it. Now it does have jalapeno in it also, but I'm going to leave the jalapeno out. We will put some cayenne in there. Usually when I cook with a jalapeno, even though I'll de-seed it and clean it up where it's not so hot, somebody will be scared to try it. So I don't ever want to,
They hear the words jalapeno, they don't even try it.
Oh yeah. So we don't want to scare anybody off from not wanting to sample it. I'll put a little pinch of cayenne in there. Some bell pepper. Spray my pan. So this is an important step. You always want to saute these vegetables before you cook with them. That's one of my main gripes about crock pot cooking. They want you to throw all that stuff in there, not even searing the meat. You should always sear meat before you put it in there too. So sear the meat really good, but you need to do the vegetables also, because that's just going to bring out more of the natural sugars in them. Even if I was doing like a meatloaf or something like that, I would saute the vegetables, let them cool, and add them to the meatloaf instead of raw onions and peppers in there. Beans, same way, the garlic, onions, whatever you put in your beans, saute that stuff. Get a little bit more of those natural sugars out of it. Alright, this is no salt added diced tomatoes. Kidney beans. Now, I'm not a fan of kidney beans. They're kind of chalky to me. I would probably use pinto beans, Great Northerns, black beans, something like that. I'm definitely not a fan. All right, and this is some vegetable stock. And this is lentils. You guys familiar with lentils? What I love about them is 30 minutes from the bag to the table. That's all it takes. You don't have to soak them all day. You don't have to crock pot them. You don't have to do anything. You just throw them in there and go. So they're a legume. They are a bean, and they're in more like the mung bean family. But you can find these anywhere. It's just that they're really not all that popular here. When I lived in England, we ate a lot of lentils. The Brits eat lentils like we do pinto beans. I mean, it's a big deal. So they're going in the chili though, because they're going to overcook. And what happens is they'll give it that nice kind of meaty texture there. Get some seasoning, some garlic. This is smoked paprika, so this is going to give it a nice red color, but also a little bit of a smoky flavor. Cumin. Like I say, a little bit of cayenne. We'll put just enough in there to say we put some in there. Okay, but I won't heat this thing up. And then the chili powder. So on the chili powder, commercial chili powder is actually a spice blend. So most recipes, when they're based on like 1 pound of meat, they'll only call for 1 tablespoon of chili powder. If you're using a commercial chili powder like this, you're only actually putting about 1/4 of a teaspoon of chili in the thing, okay? The rest of it's got cumin, it's got salt, it's got garlic powder, onion powder, which you already have all that stuff at home anyway. And you can pay pretty good money for these chili powders. You want your chili to really taste good, just buy ancho chili.
What is that?
It's called ancho chili. This is the traditional chili for chili. Just the little flat brown chili peppers you see dried in the grocery store. It's a poblano chili, and they dry it and it becomes an ancho chili. Not hard to find. If you got a good spice rack at your grocery store, McCormick has it. They also have a chipotle that's dry, if you like chipotle also. So 1 tablespoon of this is definitely going to be better. It's not going to be diluted like this stuff, okay? So give a pretty good flavor. Also, you need to add more chili powder than what the recipe calls for. If it's 1 pound of meat, you really need 2 tablespoons in there. And I would do it just and get used to it, see how the family reacts, you know, because again, they're used to a lot milder chili flavor in there. So in the old days, they would grind up 3 chili pods for a 1 pound recipe. That's about 4 tablespoons. So it's a lot. All right, we're gonna let that go. If you don't want to do all of that seasoning, you guys ever tried Williams seasoning? This one's hard to beat. This is what I make chili at home with, but I use it as a chili powder also. So if I'm doing tacos or I'm doing enchiladas or I'm doing anything Tex-Mex, I just use this. If you go on Amazon, you can get a 1 pounder. You can do chili all year long if you wanted to. It's supposed to make 32 batches of chili. So, because this one's only got like 3 tablespoons of Williams in there, but you can get a 1 pounder. Pretty good stuff though. All right, let's talk about canned chili. And I like, you know, in the old days, I don't anymore because of what we're just about to talk about, but in the old days, I used to keep a can of chili. Wolf Brand was my favorite that I used to keep around the house. If I just had a hankering for chili, then, you know, I'd go to the cupboard. These canned chilies I'm about to go over with you, all of them are 2.5 servings, so I'm just going to talk about 1 serving. Okay, so they're 2.5 servings. So remember, these companies, they don't really like to have to fill these nutritional facts out. Government makes them do it. So the consumer, he knows how much sugar, how much fat, how much calories, how much carbs. So what they do is they play with the numbers, and how they play with the numbers is they'll tell you there's an unrealistic amount of serving sizes in these cans, and that lowers the numbers, okay? There's not 3 servings in here, all right? But that's how they have it listed. So 3 servings makes those calories look better, the fat, the sugar, all of it look better. These chilies are 2.5, and Wolf Brand is the first one we'll talk about, and they're going to get worse as I go. This is bad, but they're going to get worse as I go through these, okay? So we're going to start with Wolf Brand. 2.5 servings. This is only a 1 serving. 350 on calories, 18 total fat, 7 saturated. So remember, for this program, we're trying to keep you at 5 to 10 grams of saturated fat for the whole day. Okay, so there's 7 there in just one serving. Cholesterol is 40. and the sodium is 920. We're trying to keep it 1,500 for the whole day on that, so you can imagine. And I used to eat the whole can, hit it with Fritos and cheese. I mean, I didn't stop there. So definitely thirsty after a can of that stuff. This is Hormel. So looking at the numbers on Hormel, they don't really put a lot of meat in here. I think it's got a lot more filler like cornmeal or masa, something like that. This is 260 calories, 7 grams total fat, 2.5 saturated. So see, there's not a lot of fat, so not a lot of meat in here. Cholesterol is 35, but they make up for it for the sodium, 990 on the sodium for this one. Armor, we don't want to leave Armor out. That's a pretty popular one. One serving is 350 on calories, 14 total fat, saturated fat's 5, 40 on cholesterol, sodium's 1270. It's a criminal amount of salt to be putting in your food, let me tell you, that's a lot. And this is the winner. And this used to be the deer camp chili when I was a kid. You guys are ever familiar or remember Kelly's chili? Has a green can, had a little leprechaun. I don't know what a leprechaun has to do with chili, but their mascot's a leprechaun. I have just seen this recently at Walmart, so it's still available. But I remember opening them as a kid, and there was an orange fat cap sitting on top. Looked like a hockey puck. It was about a half-inch thick. So one serving, and this is the winner. One serving of Kelly's. 410 calories, 32 grams total fat, 13 saturated, so that's your whole day and some change. Cholesterol's 52. You're ready for the sodium? 1,330 on the sodium. We didn't know it back then. We could have used that as a salt lick at deer camp. Just throw some of them cans of chili around the tree. All right, this is Morning Star. This is a black bean burger, and these are really popular. If I was running a restaurant and I wanted to have a black bean burger or just a bean burger in general on the menu, then this would be the one my purveyor would provide. This is the most popular one. Walmart carries it in the freezer section. Kroger has them too. Right at the very top here, it says 100% vegetarian. So remember, when you see terms like vegetarian, plant-based, vegan, that does not necessarily mean healthy, but the consumer falls for that. But I've seen plenty of unhealthy vegan foods. A lot of their prepackaged stuff's got a lot of coconut fat, coconut oil. So they're saying 100% vegetarian. That just means there's no animal protein in here. Okay, this is far from healthy. One burger patty here is 210 on calories, 7 grams total fat, saturated fat's 1 gram, sodium is 700 milligrams of sodium. And look at the ingredients. There's like 40 plus ingredients in here. They got all kinds of junk in this stuff. What about Beyond Meat, Beyond Burger? You guys familiar with that? Burger King's got that plant-based hamburger on the menu. The Colonel's got chicken nuggets made out of this stuff. So if I gave you a quarter pound of 90-10, the fat would be about 3.5 grams of saturated fat on 90-10. And that's pretty lean. The sodium in that, just naturally, what was in the animal's tissue, would be 35 to 40 milligrams of sodium. Okay, just depending on what was in the feed, basically. This stuff, which is plant-based, one quarter pound is 14 grams total fat. And this is plant-based, and 5 grams saturated. So it's higher in saturated fat than beef is at 90-10. The reason being is they put coconut fat in this, coconut oil. And they try to make this to where it's an 80-20. So when you put it in a skillet, it's doing burger noises and splattering and getting all over your stove, just like a burger would. The sodium is 390 on that. So again, like I say, this stuff, people are eating this, and it's not animal protein, but it's far from good for you for sure. And this is made out of vegetable proteins like green peas, Then he put red dye in it to make it look like ground beef. I've looked at their stock. I've been watching their stock actually for the last 8 months, and it's been taking a nosedive. I think people are finally kind of figuring it out. In the grocery store, when you look at it, the date's about 2 or 3 days from expiring, and it's fully stocked all the time. There's nobody picking any of that stuff up there. So it's definitely dead and slow item in those grocery stores. This is Bob's Red Mill, and this is TVP. Are you guys familiar with TVP? Textured vegetable protein. So this is soy. If you have an allergy to soy, of course, this isn't going to work for you. But this is a great meat substitute. A quarter cup dry, which is 4 tablespoons, is 0 fat, 0 saturated fat, cholesterol is 0, sodium is 0, dietary fiber is 4. So it's a gram of fiber per tablespoon, pretty awesome, and 12 grams of protein. And that's a complete protein. Soy is the only bean that is a complete protein. It has all the amino acids. So this would be really good for like adding to like a spaghetti sauce, to your chili, just pumping up some protein, give it a nice meaty texture. This stuff is easy to get. You can get it on Amazon. Drugaporium here in Little Rock carries it. Like I say, if you have soy allergy or something like that, it's probably not going to work for you. But what I like about it is, like for taco meat, this stuff browns. So you can really do anything that you do with ground beef with this stuff. And you just reconstitute it with water, you get double yield. That quarter cup dry will get you a half a cup. But pretty good stuff. Like I say, I've done meatloaf with it. I've done meatballs. Any questions on any of that so far? All right, you've got another handout there. If you've gotten the spiral book that they gave you when you started the program on page 118, there's a kind of a breakdown of what Pritikin wants you to eat in a day, or suggests. With this program, if you're hungry, eat. Okay, it's we're not wanting you to count calories or try to just worry and stress about calories. If you're not eating any fat and sugar, calories are going to be low. Okay, anybody ever been on a low calorie diet? Like they put me on a 1,500 calorie diet one time, and man, nobody wanted to be around me. I mean, you're in a bad mood, irritable, thinking about food all the time, hungry. It's not good. So this is kind of the cliff notes of it. That's why I like handing out this other one. This handout here goes in a little bit more detail. So I'll go over it with you here. It says 5 servings of vegetables, and that's the minimum. And these serving sizes are roughly about 4 ounces. Okay. So like I say, if you're hungry and you like vegetables, you can eat vegetables all day long. 4 servings of fruit. The only cautionary thing on that, if you're diabetic or pre-diabetic, I would kind of see how fruit affects you. I wouldn't just like get excited about like, man, I'm gonna have 4 servings of fruit. Eat some fruit, an hour later, check your blood sugar, see how it is, okay? I can take 2 diabetics, set them side by side, give them both a bowl of grapes. One's gonna spike, one's gonna be fine. It just comes down to medications, metabolism, that kind of thing. A lot of little variables in there. You gotta have to play around with the fruit and just see how it affects you. You definitely would want some fruit with protein. All right, eating fruit by itself, and if you're hungry on an empty stomach, a little spiky. Having an apple as a snack at 9 o'clock between breakfast and lunch, you would want to have some protein with it, like some yogurt or something like that. But I would definitely have something to slow the digestion down. 5 servings of unrefined complex carbohydrates. So unrefined carbs, and carbs get beat up a lot. There's a lot of meal plans out there now that are low carb, and refined carbs is definitely what you'd want to stay away from. But this whole bowl right here, that's carbs. Okay, these tomatoes are carbs, but those are unrefined carbs. If this stuff was in a box, more than likely to be a refined carb. So when you go to the grocery store and you go to the produce section and get a russet potato, take it home and have a baked potato. That's an unrefined carb. That's as close from the farm to your table as you can get. Or you could have bypassed the produce section, rolled on down one of the aisles and found a box of potatoes that are dehydrated, got some kind of weird yellow powder stuck to them. You put them in a bowl with water in a microwave, and 5 minutes later you got all rotten potatoes. That's a refined carb. White rice is a refined carb because they've removed two parts of it. They've removed the bran and they removed the essential oil. We removed the fat from it. So all you're eating is just the carbohydrate. You're just eating the starch on white rice. If you had a half a cup of white rice on your plate, it's a half a cup of sugar. Okay, you don't have any fiber to slow the digestion down. You don't have any healthy oil in it. Same way with anything with refined wheat flour. What they've done is they've taken the bran off of the wheat kernel and removed the germ from it also. So you're just eating the carbohydrate of it. So that's going to definitely spike those blood sugars. 2 servings of non-fat dairy. And then that would be like your non-fat milks, non-fat yogurt, non-fat sour cream. I can't say anything good about the fat-free cheese. Anybody ever tried fat-free cheese? Has anybody ever tried eating a piece of vinyl? It's about what it is. And I don't know why they even bother, Kraft bothers to make a fat-free cheese. That stuff, you could bounce it like a ball on the floor. It's like rubber. Horrible stuff, not worth it. I'm sure they throw a lot of it away. But there are some good non-fat dairy products out there. We talked about milk last week, and of course the weather kind of kept us from getting together on that one. But from skim milk, 1%, 2%, or whole milk, if you are having any kind of dairy, milk-wise, problem's going to be fat on, of course, the 2% and the whole milk. 2% is only 1.5 grams less saturated fat than whole milk. They're pretty close to the same. 1% is 1.5 grams, which would be a lot better than, of course, the 2%. Problem with milk, though, all the way across from skim to whole milk is sugar. You guys ever looked at the sugar in your milk? It's about 11 grams of sugar per cup. So, you know, I had a patient a while back. We were doing the oatmeal demo. He told me, he goes, I can't eat oatmeal, spikes my blood sugar. I'm like, well, that's an unrefined carb. There's a lot of fiber in oatmeal. I said, how do you make it? He goes, well, I don't use water. I use milk. And I'm like, well, there you go. You just put 11 grams of sugar in your oatmeal if you used a cup. So oatmeal's not the bad guy. It was the milk. So you got to just look at it. Fairlife is about the only one around here that's actually half that sugar. Problem with Fairlife is they're real expensive. That's not a half gallon of milk. That's 12 ounces short of a half gallon, but they sell it in a half gallon section, and it's a half gallon plus price. But it's not 64 ounces. We're so used to going to the grocery store, when you reach that jug, your whole life that's been a gallon of milk. Or that carton's been a half gallon, or that little squatty guy's been a quart. But nowadays, the way the economy is, a lot of these companies have gone up in price as much as they dare to, so they're starting to take down some of the quantity in there. Like looking for a pound of pasta, they're almost all 12 ounces now. So really, you got to look at your weights and your ounces on your products, because you're still paying the same price for a pound of pasta, but you're getting 12. Same size box, actually, as it used to come in. Okay, on 1 serving of lean animal meat. So they're trying to cut you back on the animal protein because that's where the saturated fat's hiding out at. Like I said, I got to get you at 5 to 10 grams of saturated fat for the day. So that's where a lot of it's hanging out at. Examples would be fish, poultry, particularly the white skinless poultry. Lean game meat like deer, bison's good. The only thing I found about the bison though is the ground bison can be an 80-20. Okay, so you would want to really strain it really good and get that grease out of there if you're using ground bison. 2 egg whites. You can definitely make sure you get plenty of protein from egg whites. I eat more egg whites than that. Pritikin's trying to hold this grams of protein down to 92, so they don't want to bump it over 100, I guess, with the egg whites. But you can have more than that. It's the yolk that has the cholesterol and the fat. But when you look at the total there, just consuming what they have here, just their minimums, you get 92 grams of protein. That's a lot of protein. You may not even need that much for the day. Remember, your body doesn't store protein, it only stores carbs and fat. Okay, protein stays in the bloodstream for up to 2 days. So if you had plenty of protein yesterday, you're probably good for today. We eat a lot, we consume lots of protein every meal, and it's just kind of a traditional kind of thing. Really, we all grew up having protein every meal. But 92 grams, like I say, I can't point you in a direction of another meal plan that's low in animal protein and guarantees you that much, that much grams of protein in there. So, pretty good. Any questions on that? All right, you've got a nice cleaned up, because anytime I do chili, it's either I get questions about crackers or cornbread. So I've got a cleaned up cornbread recipe there. Cornbread's not a hard cleanup, actually. One thing you want to look for on the cornmeal, if you can find ungerminated, that way you get the oil in there too. Because if you pick up any kind of like Martha White, Aunt Jemima, they're going to say germinated cornmeal, and you're going to say, well, what does that mean? Anytime you see terminology on your food like that, you need to question it or look it up. Germinated, well, they're telling you they did something to your cornmeal. And what they did is they removed the bottom part of the corn kernel, and they removed the oil from it, and they sell it to a refinery for making corn oil. So when you buy germinated cornmeal, you're getting the outside of the corn and the inside. You're not missing anything like you would with the white rice where they take the bran off. But you are missing a good healthy oil. It's better to have that oil unrefined than refined. A lot of seed oils are actually cause inflammation. They're inflammatory, okay? And they're chemically changed once they refine them. So the body has a hard time figuring out how to break it down. Mostly it stores it. So get ungerminated, like Bob's Red Mill makes an ungerminated cornmeal. If you just buy cornmeal, just make sure it just doesn't say germinated. The white wheat flour, that's not going to be hard to find. Kroger carries it in their brand. That's an easy one to find. Sweetener, of course, it's up to you if you like sweet cornbread or not. Egg whites instead of the whole egg. Keep that egg yolk out of there. And then the applesauce, that's 1/4 of a cup. Traditionally, that would be 1/4 of a cup of oil. So remember, all oils, it doesn't matter if it's the polyunsaturated, monounsaturated, or saturated. Any healthy oil or unhealthy oil, they all are going to be 120 to 130 calories per tablespoon, even olive oil, and 15 to 20 grams of fat per tablespoon. That's 4 tablespoons. So that's a lot of fat that's just been added to that cornbread. So you're only doing that to make it moist, and the applesauce does the same thing. Okay, just add some moisture to the batter. And then out of your choices there, soy milk, fat-free buttermilk, or skim milk. Buttermilk's, the fat-free buttermilk's gonna work the best. Anybody ever put buttermilk in the